So I walk into an airport one time, and a friend of mine who I haven't seen in probably 2 years, you know, I haven't seen him since I became a Muslim. He looks back, and he sees me, right? And I know it's him as soon as I see him, but he doesn't know it's me because I've got this giant beard, right? No problem. So anyway, he turns around and he whispers something to his friend who's beside him, right? And so I waited a second, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go talk to the guy. He doesn't know it's me, right? So you know, I walk up to him and I'm like, hey Jeff, how you doing, man? And he's like, hey, oh, it's you, man, I didn't know, right? And I was like, yeah, I know, I got this beard now, right? And he's like, yeah, with the beard, man, I didn't recognize you. He's like, crazy beard, man, or something like that. And, you know, he's like, well, why do you have that, right? I'm like, well, you know, he probably thought, well, you know, we know this guy, he's crazy anyway, he's gonna have a beard, right? But, you know, I said, no, listen, man, I'm Muslim, right? And he's just blown away. He's like, what? And I was like, he's like, man, I just told this guy, right? I looked back and I was like, dude, it's one of those guys, right? Like, you know, when the plane goes up, you know, it's not going to land well, right? So these guys are like, oh man, we're totally going down with this guy with this giant beard. But the thing is, you know, I'm just a regular guy. I was a friend of theirs, and I just look a little bit different than I did 2 years ago. So, I mean, come on. I'm a Muslim. You don't have to worry. If Muslims are on the plane, it's okay. I came back into Canada from abroad, and I was wearing a thobe, or a robe. And I had a beard, and I was wearing a little cap, you know, one of these little, the kufi caps they wear. And, you know, it was clean at the time, so I thought I'd wear it into Canada on my trip, no problem. And I walked by this woman, and as soon as she passed me, she says in a loud voice, whatever, like this, right? And I'm like, well, you know, whatever, it's okay. People look different, people act different. I'm not gonna hurt anyone. I met a guy at school, and he's like, why the F did you convert to Islam? And I was like, you know, just blown away, man. I was like, what? And then, you know, after a couple of seconds of shock, I was like, okay, I better talk about religion here, start explaining some things. So I tried to explain for a little while, and, you know, it wasn't very long into the conversation, maybe a couple minutes max, when you could tell he didn't care at all what the answer was. You know, I'm guessing he asked that just to insult me, right? So he didn't care about the answer. Not a nice question. So don't feel bad, because people are just trying to insult you. Or I might say, okay, I'm just gonna go pray here for a second now. And then some other people will be looking at me, friends of mine, they'll be like, what? What do you mean? You're gonna pray here? Right now? And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna pray here now. It's pretty easy. Like, well, what if someone comes in and sees you? I'm like, well, it's okay. I mean, I'm just praying. I'm not doing anything wrong. They're like, well, are you sure you're allowed to? And I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter. No one cares if I pray here or not. I just wanted to say from this short video that Muslims are people too. And we have feelings like everyone else. We have to eat and, you know, sleep and all that stuff. So if you want to ask a question, you know, just come up and ask a question in a nice way if you want to know the answer. If you don't want to know the answer, who cares? Don't ask the question. And, you know, things like insulting comments to make people feel bad or make them feel uncomfortable are really, you know, they're not needed. And so it's better not to say them in the first place. And also, something else, like if Muslims are going to pray somewhere or do something, you know, there's no need of other people stressing out or freaking out over something which they're not going to do in the first place. You know, most of the stuff that I get from, you know, people like, are you sure you're going to do this? It comes from, you know, either, you know, very close friends or relatives who are like, oh, what are you doing, right? And they freak right out and there's no reason. Calm down and take it easy. And don't worry, we're Muslims.